You're listening to the Lakewood Vineyard Podcast. We are part of a family of neighborhood churches called the Mile High Vineyard. For more information about our church or those we are connected to, please go to lakewoodvineyard.org. Stay tuned at the end of our podcast for ways you can respond personally to what you've just heard.
So we're wrapping up this series that we've called Don't Die Dumb. Made my dad a little nervous when he was preaching last week. He's like, I don't know if you should talk like that in church. That seems kind of harsh. But I like it. And we've been talking about comparing and contrasting the wisdom of today's culture that we see in social media against that of timeless biblical wisdom, particularly living in the Proverbs. The timeless wisdom of the Proverbs, what the Proverbs have to say to us, why it matters and why we should still let it speak to our lives and rule our lives. And this week we wrap up. We'll be going into our Advent series next week, leading to Christmas, which we always enjoy. And as we wrap up this last week, I want us to look into how do we cultivate wisdom? How do we grow in wisdom? By seeking counsel and advice from others. What is it that the Bible has to say about how people speak into our lives, about the decisions that we make? And ironically, this week I got a text message from Scott Ingerbretts, a Northwest Vineyard pastor, and he said, bro, it's not going well. He goes, I'm laying on the couch, and he sends me a picture. He was playing Thanksgiving football, as is a great tradition amongst a lot of people. And he said, I took off to run a pattern as a receiver, and he said, it felt like somebody kicked me in the foot. I thought somebody kicked me in the foot. Something snapped in his foot. And it's not going well for him. Now he's laid up. I think he's on crutches to preach today. And I laughed a little bit when I heard it. I couldn't help it. Like Scott and I have this kind of relationship. I said, bro, I'm so sorry. I should have sent you this post from John Acuff this morning before the football game. So as you see what it says dear dads in their 40s. Overconfidence is Thanksgiving. In the Thanksgiving Day flag football game is number one predictor of torn ACLs, blown hamstrings, and broken collarbones. Let the nephew score the touchdown. Your last-ditch sprint is really expensive. That's some good wisdom on social media. There's another one. This one might be a little bit like, touchy. The next time your wife gets angry, drape a towel around her shoulders like a cape and say, now you're super angry. She might laugh or you might die. And then, I don't know if you guys know this guy. I want to show this video. There's this guy on social media, Rodney Norman. I enjoy his videos so much. Check this out.
Hello, and welcome to this glorious day and moment in time. You might be getting down on yourself, and you're down with the way the world's going, because there's all these kind of crazy wars shooting up, and there's all these weird stuff blowing up all the time, and people are going nuts, and it just seems like it's the end of everything. Well, I'll let you know that the end of the world's been going on for quite a while. Somebody figured it was going to end pretty much from the point it started, and from what we can tell, we've been digging up stuff, and it seems like civilization just sort of keeps wiping itself out over the time. So yeah, it probably is going to end soon, but then maybe it won't. I have no idea. So it comes right down to it. Just enjoy what you can while you can. Make the best of it. Okay. Have a super freaking awesome day and stuff. Okay, bye.
Have a super freaking awesome day and stuff. I like that guy. You should, if you don't follow him, he's worth. His videos can always make you chuckle. Mark Twain has a quote that says this: when I was 10, I thought my parents knew everything. When I became 20, I was convinced they knew nothing. Then at 30, I realized I was right when I was 10. There's an old joke that says, what has ears but doesn't listen? So it's kind of a dad joke, right? What's your answer? Corn? People say corn? Teenagers. That's right, it's teenagers. No, hey, take your pick on which one it is. There is something about those young years where there's an idealism to think, I've got life figured out. And then you get humbled. Jeremy and I, we've been doing ministry stuff, the Twaddell's, for years and years, and think back to those. I think my most fun years were those mid-20s when we had it all figured out. I liked that stage of life. Like when you just have it all figured out, and then 10 years later, you get significantly humbled. You start having kids, stuff like that. But one of the things that all of us need to realize and grow in, no matter what stage of life we're in, is that we are to seek counsel from others. And that wisdom comes from many advisors. As Proverbs 11:14 says, where there is no guidance, a people falls, but in an abundance of counselors, there is safety. Proverbs 24:6 further emphasizes the value of seeking advice from many. For by wise guidance, you can wage your war. In an abundance of counselors, there is victory. I think there's something interesting here in that there can be a temptation for people to create echo chambers that create confirmation bias, that you just get the answer or you just hear what you want to hear that confirms what you want to believe, or you decide about how life works or the decisions you make. And so there's something to be said about seeking counsel from many wise people, because you're going to have different personalities and different perspectives. If you're an idealist, you kind of need some people that keep you kind of rooted to the ground and can look into things and see where all the problems might arise. Like point out all the pitfalls, all the downfalls, the blind spots that you might have. In addition, you don't always want just the negative, but you want people who can see where there's potential or where there's possibilities. You need these balance of things to be spoken in your life. Just like a wise, thought-out battle plan that has many advisors, this is how we make good, informed decisions that help us win in the battle of life. The reality is this stands in direct contradiction to what our current culture tends to say and have a message about in terms of finding yourself, trust your own feelings, you ignore the wisdom of others. I found this video I thought I would show. This is maybe a perfect illustration of how some people are. This is a child, very little independent child. Go ahead.
You want me to help, Rose?
No, thank you. No, thank you.
What do you want me to do?
What about yourself?
Worry about yourself.
What about yourself? I'll do this one, so gonna do that. You try. What about yourself?
You worry about yourself. It's funny when a child says it. It's a little sadder when a 40-year-old acts that way, right? When you're a grown-up and you refuse to take counsel from others or receive help. And this language, this messaging tends to show up in our current world. Be true to yourself. Don't worry about your parents, leaders, or others think. I saw this post pop up on Instagram. Don't take anyone's advice too seriously unless they're trying to help you listen to yourself. Well, interesting. Again, confirmation biased. You also see this show up even in movies and songs that maybe influence a young generation. See if you recognize these lyrics. Don't let them in. Don't let them see. Be a good girl you always have to be. Conceal, don't feel. Don't let them know. Well, now they know. let it go, let it go. Can't hold back anymore. Let it go, let it go. Turn away and slam the door. I don't care what they're going to say. Let the storm rage on. The cold never bothered me anyway. You got it? All the 20-year-olds are like, yeah, that's right, Elsa, it's Frozen. Does everybody want to sing it now? Everybody just want to sing out? 1, 2, 3, sing? No? Okay, good. I wasn't going to try. And then we see the Proverbs address the fact that you need humility in seeking counsel. You actually have to humble yourself to ask others what they think. Proverbs 12:15 says, "The way of a fool is right in his own eyes, but a wise man listens to advice." This verse gives simple reasoning for the counsel that you need. You're not as smart as you think you are. You need more help than you realize. This verse also touches on the warning of arrogance in believing that you always know what's best in your situation. Wise individuals are willing to listen to the advice of others, to seek out counsel, to recognize we don't have all the answers. Pride and insecurity are two sides of the same coin. Are we humble enough to let others speak into our life? The next thought here is that you seek counsel from Scripture and fellow believers. That there are people who trust God and are getting counsel in their life because of their life with Jesus, the time they spend in Scripture. So they're worth asking their thoughts, and then we seek to align that with Scripture itself. Those things should align. We look at Proverbs 19, 20, and 21. This is what it says. "Listen to advice and accept instruction that you may gain wisdom in the future. Many are the plans in the mind of a man, but it is the purpose of the Lord that will stand." There's a few of those scriptures in the Bible, aren't there? It's always worth noting and paying attention to when there's a repetition in Scripture. Like when you say it multiple times as a way to get people to listen and apply it. So like if I were to say, you should seek counsel, you should pay attention. Another way is like, it's wise to seek advice. You see how I'm repeating myself? Okay. Let's see if you're paying attention there. We're encouraged to seek counsel from people who can provide godly wisdom. So here's a couple practical ways we can think about applying this. It can save you a lot of pain. Seek advice in key areas before making decisions or actions. How many times in our life, if we look back, is hindsight 20/20, and if we had simply slowed down and sought counsel, it would have saved us a lot of pain and heartache. Anybody got those? Anything coming to your mind? Just reflect for a minute. Let me give you a short list. Your relationship with God. Do not try to follow Jesus or be discipled by YouTube and social media. There's way too much out there, and it can create a lot of confusion. I mean, there's so much out there. I've seen so many videos just randomly scrolling through Instagram that sound on the face like they're right, but it's actually heresy. So that's why community matters. That's why being part of a church where you, and then at least filter that stuff through counsel, the stuff you're hearing. As you consider, there is so much happening in our culture that's compromising faith. Like Orthodox anchored evangelical values are being undermined by progressive thoughts that are not of Scripture. We have to pay attention to these. Next thing is marriage and family. It's the old adage, an old saying, the only thing lonelier than being single is being in a bad marriage. Who you marry matters. Young people who are not yet married, get counsel about the person you are dating or considering becoming engaged to. How you raise your kids. How do you navigate the things and values of culture versus what you want to value as a family of faith? For work, in vocation, in calling, how do you know what you should say yes to? There's plenty of opportunities out there. What do you know what's the right thing to say yes to is seeking counsel, getting feedback. Or whether it's you're tempted to quit a job because it's not going well, seek counsel. Seek Scripture. Don't be impulsive. Housing and moving. We've seen a lot of people, I've watched a lot of people over the last 10 years throughout our Mile High Vineyard churches, highly connected in our churches, and maybe the cost of living felt overwhelming in Denver, or they had some pie-in-the-sky opportunity in another state, and they chased it for a season, and then we would hear back from them, and they were miserable. And I'm talking multiple times of people who have done this, usually somewhere, frankly, between 30 and 40 years old. So if you're in that age range, seek counsel about serious decisions you make. I've seen people sell houses and decide to rent. And at this point in life in Colorado, they're priced out of the market. There's just different things where you should ask for counsel from those who have been there and done that, or are equipped in areas like finance to help you navigate big decisions. All of these things can change your life significantly. If you aren't asking people before you act, you are deciding that these mistakes will cost you. So what does the Bible say about these key decisions? You really need to make scriptures your source. In each category I just mentioned, do you know what the scriptures have to say about each of those? What wisdom is shaping the way you think to help you decide? I'll tell you, if it's not scripture, it's whatever random advice is in culture today. That's what's leading you. So this is the question I have for you. Who am I listening to, and do they know? Who is it that I seek counsel to? Who am I submitted to? You see, this becomes, in some ways, a conversation about authority. Who have I given authority to seek their counsel and advice, and I will actually consider listening to it? If you don't clearly have a thought in your head about who that is, today might be the day to put some things in action to change that. And the second question is, if you can think of people, do they know? Have you looked to them and said, hey, I trust you to have say in my life and to speak and advise me on key decisions I need to make? This is actually one of the conversations within Mile High Vineyard. Is vineyard churches traditionally have been like pastor-driven, entrepreneurial, church planner guys, kind of like myself, starting a church. But we looked and realized that the scriptural precedent is that we have elders who hold authority with the pastor for the sake of the church and the sake of the pastor. So I love the fact that I have elders who can tell me no, or they just tell me what to do. Sometimes I just need that. Go do this. It's actually very freeing. It creates a covering. It creates protection. Who is that for you? Who is mentoring you? When you have key decisions to make, who do you ask? And then for some of you in this room, I would ask, you've been there, done that. You've seen a lot of things. Have you made yourself available to be an advisor and a mentor to somebody younger? And I have to nuance this. I have to say this because we tend to think in linear terms of aging, and that the older you are, the wiser you are. There's some people in this room who are young who can really help older people, especially in the area of technology. So like our young people who are like tech savvy, you could be a mentor to an older person who may be at risk of an online scam. This is like a real thing, right? Like older generation, if you get an email from a Nigerian prince that says they will give you $1 million if you could just send a banker's check for $10,000. Like maybe just ask a 25-year-old, does that sound legit? Ask your son or your daughter. Ask your grandkids. You know, does that make sense how these things work? Like we can be mutually submitted to each other in our lives, and but we have to have humility and humbleness that there's other people out there, and it's not always determined by age. I would love for you to even today, as an action item, write on a Connect card, I would love to be available as a mentor. What if we could match every one of our high schoolers and middle schoolers with somebody who would be committed to just investing in their life? That's an additional voice that loves Jesus, and it's not just their parents. Wouldn't that be cool? Maybe you're in the room and you just say, I really want a mentor. And I love like our young adults. I love like our young adults in a room. I've had multiple conversations with me who are wise. For 20, they're just going, you know what I need? I need somebody who will speak into my life. I love that posture. There's a lot of 40-year-olds who could learn from our young adults to have that kind of posture, to say, I need somebody to speak into my life. This is what it means to be the church, is that we do this for each other. That we're committed to this, that we navigate the decisions to make individually as families, but there's also rippling effects, that we navigate these things as a church. That we can see, how do we bless our community? How do we be a light that shines in the darkness, in the confusion of a tumultuous world? How do we bring light and truth to a watching world?
Thanks for listening to the Lakewood Vineyard podcast. We encourage you to respond to what you've just heard by sharing a prayer request with us on our Connect card. You can find these on our app or our website at lakewoodvineyard.org/connect. You can also respond by being generous as God has been generous to you. If you'd like to give a financial gift, you can do so at lakewoodvineyard.org/give. We hope to hear from you soon. Thanks for listening.